I dressed up as a crazy approval of the female match, was pressured by parents and childhood sweetheart's male business marriage. Wedding night, his white moonlight rushed into our bedroom, crying pear flowers with rain. I'm just going to cut to the chase and wish him and the moon a long time. I really don't care. After all, the idea of spending your husband's money on a pretty boy is just not cool. Delay, we have at least known each other once. I have a temper, you know. I gathered together the longan and sunflower seeds on the wedding bed and began to eat them in my arms. What do you mean? This handsome man in a suit, with a corsage pinned to his chest, was my husband, who had just been certified for his wedding. Next to him, that crying pear flower rain, a lilac dress woman, is the heroine of this article, the delayed white moonlight, Jiang Chengyu. One of them cried, the other coaxed. I married into the serious 800 wife, like a stick-beat Mandarin duck villain. But it doesn't matter. Delay, anyway you don't like me, for the sake of our childhood together, I accompany you to play this apparent couple, just for today's money. It's all mine. All I care about is how much money I got today. Autumn, Jiang Chengyu cried in the arms of the delay will faint ancient seven. I didn't speak with melon seeds. Nothing more. I just want to see how long she can have trouble without the devil. 5 minutes and 48 seconds. Who? You're not very good. There was no sobbing, and I pressed the pause button on the timer. Choo-choo, be sensible. The adult moon is only my sister. The man frowned deeply at my words. Warily, I scooped up a suitcase full of money in front of me. She's just my sister, I groaned. She says purple has charm. Don't think so. No one will rob me of my share of the money. The sunflower seed shells were scattered all over the ground, and the couple seemed unable to understand human language. Delay release holding Jiang Qingyue's hand, a face forced helpless and dull pain. How I did not think you were such a small-stomached chicken woman, The heroine over there listened to him, and, as if in an instant, she was triggered, and cried even more miserably. It's me, and I shouldn't dream of delaying my brother. I know that people of my family background are not worthy to compete with Sister Rong. Me? 6. When Inari said that, it took him at least 40 chapters. Delay all over startled, incredulously looked at her. That's enough. That's enough. I'm an idiot, not an idiot. The plot is so corny that I'm sick of it. Enough delay. Don't act like you just found out now. The affair between you and Chengyu Qiang didn't just happen today. I remembered that I was a bookwearer about 2 years ago. It's just that the plot is so powerful that I can't stay awake all the time, so I can't get out of it completely. It wasn't until the wedding was over that I felt like I had suddenly opened my veins. This story is a cliché, probably a bossy CEO falls in love with me style. Jiang Chengyu is a stubborn and brainless lady with little white flower. She wins by being pure and has a stubborn temperament, which makes the delay when she was my fiancé come alive. Just small white flower, although don't do personnel, but in order to maintain the design, always didn't burst and delay between the window paper. It is typical to be both upright and upright. And delay as a man, self-moved the first person. He is the bastard of the late family elders like my family background, so naturally put us together. As an unloved bastard, the delay naturally knew me well. So because of our so-called childhood friendship and my privileged family background, he kept bouncing back and forth between me and the stubborn little white girl for half the story. I cannot put the side of the female love and do not know. It's disgusting, I blurted out. I don't think I'm such a good guy. Besides, I'm supposed to be a mean girl. The rabbit urgent also can bite the human. The delay does not stem the human matter. I scold him too, he deserves. Perhaps it was the disgust and indifference on my face that stung him. Delay want to tell me that I don't think so, but just months have to this layer of window paper pierced. So he stood there and looked at me for a long time, but he didn't say anything. Chicho, I thought you would understand me. The words of delay just fell. Small white flour miso ground suddenly stood up. Red eye socket saw his one eye, rush out of the door. Why is it so musical? Moon. Delay subconscious to chase out, but then quickly stopped and asked me in a deep voice, what do you want, E? I frowned deeply. I, Rong Chucho, have two great regrets in my life. First, people who waste money. Second, what? Delay accurate stepping on mine. I took a deep breath and fondly touched the chest full of iron trunks. The smell of money calmed my bad mood. This is only a small part of the many gifts received today. I told you, this is all I want. Wedding night, delay chasing Jiang Chengyu out. One night did not return. Happy as can be, I dialed 500,000 into an account with my backhand and continued to count my money happily. So much? You're married, not me. Are you sure you won't sleep at home? You swear. Answer me. The phone lights up and sends for messages. I was too busy counting my money to pay attention. The next day, when the nurse had made lunch, he arrived late with his stubborn little donkey. Chicho, she is suffering from severe depression. I can't. He hurried up to me and said something hurriedly. He couldn't go on in the middle of the sentence. Because my face was white and haggard, my eyes were swollen and red. Looks like I've been crying all night. I cut the steak with shaking hands and muttered to myself, looking like a lunatic. His eyes ached, as if he'd finally realized he was an animal. The man knelt down beside me with a rare look on his face. Chicho, I'm sorry, but it wasn't like that last night. Jiang Chengyu looked at him this way, and imperceptibly wet eyes, a feeling at any time will die. But the delay turned its back on her and could not see. 8,300. And I just moved my lips and turned them up. What? Chicho, do you have something to say? The delay held my cold hand, and his eyes were full of pain. 83,560,000. Who's good? I'm over $80 million. Delay. I can't wait to share the joy. Pull your hand back and stuff a steak in your mouth. I chewed and studied them, swallowing the meat. Calms down the mood, only then remembered, he has come back. My casual attitude seems to have hurt him badly. Delay, a handsome face pale, neck side of the blue vein almost burst, looked at me, difficult way. Is so, you this is a few nights of money, E. Or what? They want to cry for the two things heartbroken. The people do not toss their ghosts do not ghost. What's the matter with you? Just so we're clear, once you've had sex, you can't back out. I glanced at him warily and felt contentedly for my bank card in my pocket. This sex, of course, does not mean me and him. Dropping my knife and fork, I gently wiped the sauce from my lips. Then he looked back and said, these days you can be a cause and still be depressed. I said a word, Jiang Chengyu fell to the ground. A pair of innocent eyes rustled to fall down to tears. How can you say that, I? Delay distressed not line, said I scorpion mouth snake heart, they both innocent. I was bored out of my mind. My voice was 8 degrees cold. Don't pretend in front of me, Jiang Chengyu. You should know my family is very rich. Do I have to ask someone to kidnap you and go to the hospital to check if there is any sperm residue in my husband's body? I put on my coat and smiled as I passed them. You kissed the boss, but you couldn't protect him, could you? Then he turned to my husband and said, the transition reception is in a couple of days. Don't delay, or I don't know if you'll be able to hold on to this chair. Why do you have to fight for these boxes of money when you have so much money? After I left home that day, I ran into another house I bought. The man who spoke was the pretty boy I kept. The man in front had just finished taking a bath. He came out lazily wrapped in a bath towel. The steaming heat made his fair skin red with fumes. The water drops rolled down from the chest, through the obverse furrows in the abdomen, and finally into the thin waist. I looked away as quickly as if I had been scolded, coughed, and pretended to be inscrutable. You don't understand. I was supposed to come here once a week to feed him and make sure he wouldn't starve to death. But recently I've been immersed in wedding planning for a week and haven't seen him in a while because of the drama of marrying the man. You're short of money? He looked at me with a half smile, the displeasure in his eyes well hidden, but I could feel it. Before I could answer, he jumped on me. The strong masculine breath enveloped me in a small corner. The smell of the same body lotion that I had was getting in my nose, like it was choking me. You stay away from me. Then tell me, Rongcho, what are you going to do? Slow burn. I'll tell you, I'm still your brother's wife. I shuddered violently. I care. His eyes grew thick with playfulness, and he saw me shrink back, pressing closer and closer, his face almost touching mine. He was very good at it. When he said these words, he naturally found my breath with his own. Oh, no. The top of my heart is trembling. His breath on my lips, I shut my eyes, and my heart sank. As a result, I waited for a long time. I did not speak. The imagination of the kiss did not fall down. Why are you blushing? He chuckled, finger belly heavy ground nipping at my lips. I endured it until I opened my eyes again, and he was already dressed in his jacket. At present this man is called Kai Zhuer, this article's strongest male match, Kai family legitimate son, 16-year-old lost, 24 suddenly went home. Only the book is slow, gentle, and harmless, as if nothing can affect his mood, far from now so. Transgression. The original book is the difference between a buyer's show and a seller's show. Now he was a madman, an animal who did everything by instinct. My instinct tells me that today's slow burn is very dangerous. Slow burn, you have to go back. I gasped, still palpitations. I picked this man up by accident in a junkyard under an overpass. Compared with the details in the book, I'm sure he is the master of the late family. Just don't know why amnesia, oneself also don't know who he is. To change the plot, I kept him on this property for the time being. After hearing what I said, he didn't hesitate to nod. I'll do whatever you want. Slowly, he adjusted his glasses and walked over to me. But what are you going to pay me? My heart sank a little, and the heat came from my neck. Knowing I couldn't hide, I narrowed my eyes and tilted my head to reveal that side of my skin. I almost in an instant ready to mind. Late burning long so handsome. Anyway, I am also a prophet. A light kiss brushed the side of my neck. He seemed pleased with my compliance. He smiled. I'll take the deposit. At first, I thought I picked him up to hide his wife. Only now do I realize that I'm trying to hide from the tiger. Dad! On Monday morning, I woke up to a nightmare of white roses and chrysanthemums, paper money being scattered all over the place, and crying my heart out among the mourners. This is the scene I have dreamed of countless times over the past 2 years. I disappeared for 2 days, and the delay almost blew my phone out. Boy, he still thinks he loves me. An hour later, I was sitting in the dining room of our wedding house, sick with a headache at the thought of Inari's brainless, stubborn ass. Autumn? Cho cho. My voice trembled with excitement when I came back. He rushed to hug me as soon as he came out of the ground floor bathroom, and my head was pushed hard into his arms. It's near concussion. He was talking gibberish over my head, and I began to calculate how much a marital concussion would cost him. Chicho, it's really nothing between me and you. Don't make a scene. After a long talk, all I heard was this sentence. He seemed so afraid of my walking that he pinched my chin and forced me to look at him. Are you jealous? A smile rose from the lips of the delay, and his face seemed brighter. He bent his head to kiss me. I was startled and tried to escape. POW. I didn't have time to think about it, but a heavy slap in the face turned the delayed head sideways and sideways. Delay, don't disgust me. I said coldly, you like Jiang Chengyu and you are devoted to her. I respect you as a loving dog. Like I said, we're just a couple on the outside. I'm not interested in doing this sleazy love triangle with you. Delaying a long time to react to come over, slowly raised his hand, feeling just I left the palm prints. The action is slow and leisurely, as if there is some nostalgia. I'm shaking. This guy isn't fucking shaking, is he? I am on the alert for his next behavior. One cannot help but observe their facial features, but there are 2 points similar, but not delayed burning to look good. But it's as sick as a slow burn. The difference is the direction of the disease. Then the delay is no longer what to do, as if I was hit cool, a face of sunshine, asked me what to do. What did I tell you? All I want is money. You and Jiang Chengyu have something no matter what I care about are. I endure the cold. 80 million in the bank. We'll write it off. Don't worry, as long as she doesn't be evil, I promise to accompany you to play this model couple. I patted my chest and looked the part. It's just a question of how long. The delay finally caught on, but it seemed a little hard to believe. You mean you don't love me anymore? I put on a face of gratitude again. Thank you for finally understanding English. He slumped in one of the chairs and tried to explain to me. Why? Because of an unwarranted misunderstanding. Full term is severe depression. I was forced to. What a lame excuse. I yawned boringly. See, I didn't seem to mean to talk. Delay trying to recall kill. Then you have for me. And sweet word said to me is what? Count me good at Chinese. Okay, Chicho, if you dare to say again that you don't love me, I will. No. No. What did I tell you? There's something wrong with TARDIS genes. They're both fucking sick. Delay is a pure B. I leaned back in my chair and ignored him. I took out my phone and opened WeChat. His fingers tapped on the keyboard and sent him an address. In this gap, Jiang Chengyu wearing my clothes slowly down the stairs. My forehead jumped. Oh, I said with a laugh. Is your wife awake? She looks like a hostess, so I don't know where her face comes from. Tonight there is a cocktail party. According to the original plot, Jiang Chengyu will also go with. A report of her severe depression made the delay a constant source of protection. Even protected to the home. I cannot help but start to doubt the author's intelligence. The heroine is the family are dead? She walked to the table in her high dress. Delay looking at her, eyes crossed a surprise, not stingy praise. A full moon, very suitable for you. The stubborn donkey nodded shyly and said thank you. Then when she looked at me, she turned into a face of shame, saying that if it weren't for the late always, she wouldn't have looked at these clothes and jewelry. Why don't you just take it off and get married? Funny, I've seen her fondle her hands on her dress. What is there to pretend to be so rich that you cannot lust after it? Only I don't understand, in the body of delay, I always seem to feel a very strong sense of separation. It was as if he had just looked into the eyes of the headstrong mistress, and seemed to be looking through her at someone else besides admiration. But before I could think about it, the stubborn donkey snorted again. I have no quarrel with you. Why do you insult me again and again? When the wedding room is decorated, some of my jewelry and clothes have been sent over one after another, many even tags and not dismantled. Jiang Chengyu family in general can delay to her very good. So good that she had the illusion that the luxuries were rightfully hers. Sure enough, as soon as I finished, she looked at my husband quickly and awkwardly. Chuchio, be magnanimous. He frowned disapprovingly. Don't worry, you'll be in a hurry later. I stopped the delay from continuing. To be honest, I wouldn't even have given them a second look if I hadn't dragged him to work so late. Jiang Chengyu in the original article is relying on me in this set of dress at the party, was quickly recognized by the social circles. She and my husband walked together at the reception as if they were a match made in heaven. This plot also is this malevolent female match official black beginning. From the mobile phone call out the collection code put in front of her, you like, I generous point to sell to you, Chenghui 730,000, online banking or cash? Why would a stubborn little white lady allow herself to be an OOC? Jiang Chengyu was so excited by me, red eyes out of the bank card will follow me to the bank transfer. I unhurriedly stopped her and pulled out a POS machine in front of them. Watching her pay, I feel the heart of small white flowers are bleeding. Delay said to give her half a year's salary in advance. She was coldly refused. However, before the drama of you and me can be played, the cell phone rings late. Late family ancestral home their call. Let us hurry back to a trip. Listening to the phone, the delayed jawline snapped. I raised my eyebrow slightly. It seems that the slow burn there is a success. Courtry, I'm grandma. Don't you remember at all? When we got home, the old lady was holding her burning hand and crying her eyes out. Late father son didn't speak, but look in the eyes see love and concern. He bowed his head meekly and let the old woman hold his hand. Late husband and wife died early, leaving behind such a son, but also lost for 8 years. Since we entered the door, the tears in the two old eyes have not gone down. Kai, a man of few words, patted him on the back and felt so anxious to give his grandson the stars and the moon. Everything will be yours from now on, ear. I raised my eyes to look at the delay. The expression on his face did not change, but he stood there, out of place in this family. At the dinner table, they introduced him to us. I sat down beside him and made an appearance of a please advise me more when we first meet. Little Courtry, this is your brother and sister. He nodded to us and gave Delay a hug enthusiastically. What he did was just like a brother. True feelings, even I almost touched. The old man and the old lady looked pleased and said yes several times. However, authentic young master came back, his this bastard status, appear very embarrassed. Only the world of delayed injury reached, I lifted the corners of my mouth. The boy has suffered so much out there all these years. The old lady wiped the tears from her eyes and said, if Uncle Chen hadn't happened to find little Courtry today, the boy wouldn't know when he could go home. Uncle Chen is the old man of Late Home. Late Home just made a fortune, soon was recruited to do the housekeeper. Kai looks like his father, so it makes sense to recognize him. Out of the corner of my eye I glanced at the delay. His face was ugly, but he remained calm. Wrong. Cho. He reached out his hand to greet me, seeming hesitantly to call my name, but in fact every word slipped across his tongue with a hidden meaning. I shook his hand with a forced smile. The warm, slightly dry palms touched mine. Invisible angle, he used finger pulp rubbed my palm, itching at the time of the spread. The heart gave a jerk. Crazy. No one noticed what was wrong with us except the delay. The smile on his face grew cold as he looked at the likeness of my father, and he put his arm around my shoulder. Newly married couples are just different. Look how much they love each other. The old lady Kai smiled kindly and reached out to pat the old man on the back of his hand. Technically, he's my legal husband, and it's perfectly normal for him to have some physical contact with me. But after a brief rejection, my heart almost jumped out of my chest, subconsciously to see the look of slow burning. No change, or a composed look, half smile. But I could tell he was up to something. The hand holding the chopsticks trembled violently, and I quietly withdrew from the embrace of Delay. What are my plans when I get back? Delay asked casually, and gave me a chopstick dish. I stopped eating and pretended there was a phone call. The man on the table looked at me, and I said something embarrassed and ran out. The Delay is also really stupid. If he had spent more time surfing the internet, he would have understood the sentence. Squinting is not a good bird. His brother is a completely out-of-control critic. Two psychopaths. I'm not playing with them. In fact, it was necessary to get him back home, because according to the plot of the book, my family's property will soon have a huge debt problem. My mother died early. My family is only me and my father and my brother, 3 people. My brother is still studying abroad. My father has a very serious heart problem. He has worked too hard for me and my family's company over the years. After the crisis, my dad didn't get much sleep for nearly a month, trying to plug the hole. Eventually, he had a seizure and left. My brother, as a company legal person, natural escape even, the future was taken directly into. A sit is 10 years in prison. In this story, the past 0 or 3 years of my life have been real, even though I'm wearing a book. My dad and I have been alone for so many years, I can't watch the plot unfold. He knew my father treated me like a pain in the ass, so he pretended to trick him into signing a yin-yang contract. It was ostensibly for Inari's sake, but I knew it was more than that. To delay a man, however stupid, is to grow up smelling in Vanity Fair. He is ambitious. But I grew up spoiled, never involved in the company, so even if know the plot, also can't immediately solve. Let's slow burn back is to disrupt the plot so that delay distraction, no time to deal with my home. As night fell, I changed into my dress. It's beautiful. I sat in front of the mirror, wondering when to come in, lazily propping up the arm of my chair. Slightly rough fingers gently brushed my shoulder and neck. That inch of skin soon played a pimple. I reached for the back of his hand. It was a big day, and I couldn't go mad. Looking at my hand on the back of his hand, the man raised his eyebrows, a rare quiet. I looked in the mirror. Inside the body slim, superior neck looks fragile, delicate. Like a work of art. It's beautiful. Tell me, what are you going to do with your family? When I came to myself, the burning tore the lamb's skin. In that case, I don't have to pretend with him. Said my dad gave me some shares to go back and learn something systematically and then go back to work. He smiled. My brother seems to have a big problem with that. After all, he managed to climb to this position, and then you came back as soon as you said you were coming back. I said carelessly, though it was all my doing. The reception was held in Kai's ancestral home. When I walked down the stairs side by side with Kai Chong, Jiang Chengyu was already staying at the edge of the delay. Late burn by late master Sun call away seems to be intentionally for him to introduce other big shot. Today's reception is to inform the outside world of the late family in charge of the change, in order to delay the position to consolidate contacts and opened. But now the real young master home. Delay can also be good when the person in charge, it is hard to say. The reception had been planned a month in advance, and I had waited until the day of the reception to make it happen, just for the moment. Dad! I noticed a man in a suit and tie, a surprised look on his face. In the days when I recalled the plot of the novel, I always dreamed of my father's illness. Dream, white cloth cover his face, let me how to cry. The pet I like the eyes of the general man, have never opened his eyes. I gave him a cuddly hug and he petted me on the head. Is it cold to wear so little? No matter how formal the occasion is, all he cares about is whether I will catch a cold. I feel like crying. Not cold. I dressed up a little today, to avoid the book deliberately vilified women with wear, surrounded by amazing eyes gathered. I looked back one by one and smiled back. Looking at the reaction of people, I also woozy satisfied up, yes, should be very positive palace empress momentum. Not every dog or cat can come to such an occasion. The next moment, the late old man walked to two people with a cane. At the same time, the guests noticed something was wrong and began to discuss how it wasn't me, the real wife, standing next to the delay. My dress is made to measure. I make an appointment 3 months in advance, so it fits everywhere. Jiang Chengyu wore the day crustily scalp bought for me hair dress, probably want to highlight or refuse to bow to the evil forces of the bitter lover set up to win the male lord's pity. But her height and 3 measurements are smaller than me half a circle, wearing my dress, although not ugly, but certainly not than the original delay for her. All people are commenting on her. Obstinate little white flower became the target of all criticism, instantaneous face helpless, trying to get a man pity. Delay glanced at her, and bent down softly, not knowing what to say. A few seconds later, Jiang Qingyue's face turned white. I'm a little sluggish, a little strange inside. Time slipped by a week. Glory autumn. One morning, I got a burning phone call. Just bleary-eyed, he said, and my grandfather is dead. I sat up suddenly. What did you say? I said, Master Kai is dead. Just got a call from the police about this morning's incident. He said he had been stabbed while running in the morning, with a dagger, and his fingerprints were still being collected. I opened my mouth wide. I didn't expect this to happen. I said I knew, and I hurriedly hung up. Hot search was soon attracted by the news that the late ruler was stabbed to death. A casual search could even see pictures of the scene. My heart tightened, crossed off the box stage. See the time of late burn again. It is in a net bar. The person is not much, display old. Kai sat there, engrossed in the league. He already has a game to play extremely good settings, standing next to a junior high school uniform boys. Probably see him easy to talk, trying to rub the internet. Brother, I beg you, brother, just one, really just one. You play the game so well, we can certainly understand this kind of internet addiction, young, right? The man was smoking a cigarette, sniffing, his eyes still fixed on the screen. Slender fingers drum on the keyboard, cigarette butts bright red. I didn't mean to, but he did it beautifully and unconsciously with gusto. After a while, when the game was over, he took the butt of his cigarette from his lips and exhaled. Brother, your girlfriend is so beautiful. Only such a beautiful sister can match my brother. The kid glanced at me and immediately had a new ass. I'm not his daughter. I was interrupted. The young man gave me a look. You want to play? The boy nodded his head many times. Get the questions right first. Internet cafe up is a roof. I followed the late burned into the door, was outside the wind blows to react. Thinking of the man's craziness in front of me, I immediately looked at him warily. The man laughed and even forgot to light his cigarette. "Afraid I'll hurt you?" I was dazed by the smile, confused, nodded, and then realized what, quickly diverted the topic. "You play the game very well, eh?" "I have no memory," he said, leaning against the railing. "The only things I can find familiar are games and—" "What else?" "Nothing." I seriously sound. The original does account for the late burning is half a gamer. He was not on the matter of mind since childhood, wasted a genius brain. Especially when he is in a bad mood, the frequency of playing video games is extremely high. "Are you unhappy?" I ventured. Today's burn gave me a different feeling. "Because of your grandfather?" I and late family contact is not deep, since the delay after the death of their parents. Together have seen them 3 times, naturally no feelings. But I want to know what she's thinking. "Don't look at me like that," he said. "I have no motive to kill anyone." I let out a sudden breath. "Good. But my brother's lover recently found me." Jiang Chengyu find late burning, set to take him familiar with the company business. Take the opportunity to add the late burning WeChat. Day then defecation is also on time morning and night, plus from time to time selfie. I said that she recently how the friend circle also sent frequently so many. After hearing the words, I felt speechless. In this crazy criticism of all the farce, only she still indulged in his drama. Can be said to be very remember the original intention. On the day of the reception, the late master did not announce the late change of power. A celebration of the late on the reception became the big young master return wedding banquet. Delay face is not good looking, forced to smile when no one went to the too old side. A grandpa, when the party changed the theme, no one told me about it. The old man but just simply way, "Your brother is very not easy to go home. This is the big happy event of late home. What else is not sooner or later? Anxious to do this day?" Delay choked, answered yes. After that, the old man glanced again at Yang Jiang Chengyu. "Now what don't flow into things a thinking of high branches? I looked at a pair of obstinate donkey round yo big eyes, suddenly red. But the old man galloped in the mall for many years. The upper authority of the bullying cannot be blamed. Her eyes crossed a trace of hate, but how also dare not say anything. She looked askance at the delay, but for the first time the man's attention was not on her. He looked at me standing in the attitude of a protector of the slow burning, dark look in his eyes. I didn't see any delays for 2 days after the reception. The reason seems to be Jiang Chengyu make to cut wrists. He ran home to take care of. This is a good thing. I am happy quiet, lest he came to my son before the disease. But by the end of the day, after the drinks had started, the delay would have started at my house. But now nearly half a month has passed and no movement has been seen. But I can't let it go. Delay is the father's legal heir, and now that he is dead, Delay's succession to the company is almost certain. My family's property is a delicacy for him. Even if it is a matter of course to get together with Jiang Chengyu, he will not easily let go of my family. Who could it be? The police didn't find any fingerprints on the weapon, and there was no surveillance on the morning run. The killer was a repeat offender, with no tail. And late home black and white all-inclusive, rich for many years, enmity is not in the minority. When the bell rang, I opened the door. It was Jiang Chengyu. She wore dark red lips and black, and her hair had been combed from its previous disheveled state into a grown-up look. I could smell the wine on her, and I knew it was blackening. I think she'll then start taunting me about how good the delay is for her. What's the use of an original? Ein's been with me the whole couple of days, as she smiled and raised her hand to me. See, Ian bought me the ring you have. I nodded approvingly. Yes, I wish you both a long and happy immortality. She stumbled into the room, the smell of alcohol getting worse as she passed me. What a perfect house, what a perfect husband. She stumbled over to the escalator and, looking delirious, touched the railing. I looked at her morbidly. Jiang Chengyu was drunk for a while, muttering about Ian. But, in such a perfect world, how can someone as imperfect as you be? As she spoke, she tried to flip the table over like a mad woman. The quality is too good to be moved. She went to sweep the dishes at the table again, which clanged and clattered. What is it about you that makes Ian like you so much? The other night at the party, I was being talked about. I panicked. I looked at Ian for help. And what happened? And then he leaned in my ear and said, "Don't make me look weak all the time." Doesn't even look like her anymore. My heart sinks. What's the matter with you? She burst out laughing. Aren't you proud, Rung Chiu? You don't love him, so he found a substitute similar to you. I did not have time to close the door, or even time to reflect on what she said. It was from behind with a wet cloth covered his mouth and nose. It worked so well that I lost consciousness before I could fight it. Before the coma, is Jiang Chengyu crazy face. I do like to procrastinate, but at a very young age. In fact, there is no very strong plot. That is, I lost my mother when I was young, weak character. Other students do not like me, like to say that I am a bastard, is a junior, so there is no mother. And then the word got around, and it became, cause us kids will be cause. I want to say no, but I can't say it. Do you want to stop going to school? I sat in the corner and a teenage voice broke their whispering. The young looks very good. That age sentimental doldrums has become the white moonlight of many girls. The girls looked at me jealously, and the boys were annoyed that he was such a showman. How can you threaten us when we don't care whether we read or not? I looked at the back of the juvenile, clearly not long open, but I somehow feel relieved and, oh palpitations. My family has the money. Or are you richer than you'll ever be in your lifetime? He smiled casually and spoke with the stench of money in his mouth. But in my opinion, very handsome. After that, we often together as if inadvertently go to and from school, not explicit, tacit. We became a hot topic of discussion among our classmates, but no one dared to embarrass me in front of me anymore. Maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. The hero doesn't have to do anything, as long as standing there, only a simply hero save beauty, will become the protagonist of my life. Such a day after 2 or 3 years, and then we go to school. I heard he went abroad, suddenly no news. Until later goodbye, his appearance, and there have been many changes in the past, but still can see some vaguely similar shadow. Having said that, the truth is that even I don't remember him exactly as he used to be. I might not even remember his name if he hadn't mentioned it. After we got along for a while, he told me he loved me. Cho, would you like to be my girlfriend? I froze and looked into his face. At that time, although it seems that there is something wrong, but somehow agreed to down. I don't know why, but it seemed like the way it should be with me and the delay, and everything just fell into place. Later, he met Jiang Chengyu. And I also began to have self-awareness. The late burning picked up home. I woke up with water in my nose. When I woke up, my surroundings had changed. I was suspended in the air above a huge glass box filled with water. I was all wet. I do not know how long the chain tied me, has been deeply strangled into the meat, tied me raw pain. Hair covered my line of sight. I can only narrow my eyes to see Jiang Chengyue's face. You're awake? Her voice echoed in the old warehouse, and I made a gesture to the side. I dropped quickly and landed in the tank again. I caught myself choking on a lot of water. I had no one to turn to and struggled in the water like a dying fish. Shit. At this moment I realized, Jiang Chengyu, this stubborn donkey, not immersed in drama. But the story does not know which link from the beginning has become the plot of all crazy criticism. What do you want to do? I was pulled up again, retching and vomiting a lot of water. I'm just curious, how can someone like you have such a good life? She stood on the stage next to me and pinched my face in disgust. Even the young man who has just returned home late is very nice to you. Jiang Chengyu suddenly smiled. A Ronkiyuki, how can you dare? I looked at her with my hair down and smiled. Am I better looking than you? Richer than you, smarter than you, better than your family. What can I do, stubborn donkey? All roads lead to Rome, but alas, I was born in Rome. With wet hair all over my face, I thought I must look like a ghost. So, are you pissed off? You. Jiang Chengyu was very angry, but soon didn't argue with me. She raised her mouth again. I wonder how long it will take for this water tank to soak your mouth softly. Put her down and don't pull her up this time. Words fall, the chain quickly loose. Less than 2 seconds, I again fell into the water. Splash, splash, splash. As I struggled in the water, Jiang Chengyu got a chair to sit in front of me and admire my foolishness as I walked towards death. Slowly, I looked at the water tank outside the river into the month. Suddenly do not earn. He smiled at her instead. Then I closed my eyes and let myself float. Jiang Chengyu twisted his eyebrows. What tricks do you want to play? After a while, I heard a noise outside the tank, through the waves, into my eardrums. And after I do not know how long, outside the water tank, came a few loud noise. 1, 2, 3. The glass cover was broken, and the voice of reality once again entered my ears without estrangement. Wake up! Wake up! Rongqiu, did you hear that? I was shaken a few times and managed to open my eyes. The face that greeted me was what I had expected. It's a slow burn. I was taken to hospital because the burn came on so quickly and I didn't have any irreversible damage. Timed to be less than 5 minutes after I was completely submerged in the tank. Jiang Chengyu has been arrested. In addition to the attempted murder, she is also suspected of being late. When I woke up, it was already the second day. I was sitting at the bedside. My father stayed with me all night. He still had a very important list to discuss in the afternoon. I frowned. Yes. It wasn't surprising that she would kill me because of jealousy, that she'd be so rude to her the other day. Fear is at that time bear a grudge in the bar. When he saw that I had nothing to say, he said, Aren't you afraid? What? Death. He explained, when I arrived, you didn't appear to be in pain. All right, I mused. Why? There are so many questions today. I turned around, changed my position, and said, because you'll come. The man is stagnant. Suddenly lightly tight lips, lift a hand to rub nose. He turned his head in a casual manner and asked no more questions. My eyes widened as if I had seen some miracle. It was amazing. Such a person as Kai Cauldron knows how to be embarrassed. The room was quiet again. I lie on my side thinking, actually not afraid, but I'm gambling. The storyline and characterization to date have diverged significantly from the original. Jiang Chengyu, the heroine, is disqualified. So I wonder, Since the characters will be set by the plot and change, then the book's male and female protagonists, it will also produce a shift. Looking at the man by the window, I thought, I probably won the bet. What about the thing I asked you to look into? When I woke up again, I looked at the figure standing outside the window. Yes? The man turned, and in the light of the street lamp it was the face of a delay. My heart beat fast and my palms sweated thinly. Delay, why are you here? He smiled. How can I not come when you are in such a big trouble? He's lying. He hadn't been home once since we were married, so it couldn't have been because he was worried about me. It's not worry. It's something else. Are you here to tell me about Jackie? I don't know where he went. He shouldn't have left me here alone. He murmured, will you let her off the hook for a month? No. I thought so. I want to intercede for her, too. I used to pity her because she wasn't well off, and I have no friends here. But she hurt my wife and killed my most revered grandfather. His face darkened and he sank into the shadows. How magnificent. I tried to read his face and pursed my lips. Delay, what are you doing these days? I asked suddenly. He lifted eyes, without thinking. A grandpa's funeral. Are you preparing for the afterlife, or are you preparing to inherit the company and plan something else? Late old case has not been solved. Late old lady is bound to catch the murderer will be buried, but also a fair grandfather. I didn't let him finish. So, are you planning the funeral, or to find a suitable scapegoat for his own murder? My words finally let the delay have some fluctuations. Achucho, how can I not understand what you say? Outside the ward was the road, with cars honking and glass windows closing in. You're too tired, Chucho. Month she is too jealous. In the past as I handled him properly, let you wronged. He said, overtly and covertly, that I was overthinking things. Did my uncle go to see my aunt when she died? I said suddenly. The delay of this man for Jiang Chengyu attitude has been very strange. His feelings for her is always very superficial, not popular. At first, I thought I had misunderstood. But then one time, I went to delay the company. Overheard staff gossiping about their boss. They said, Ikai doesn't know what's going on. Although she looks good to Jiang Chengyu, she doesn't want to listen to her. That is when the seeds of doubt were sown. Jiang Chengyu and I have 5 points similar, if in accordance with the original plot, between us forced by a stand in literature, it makes sense. But I know very well that delay doesn't love me so much. At least he doesn't love me as much as he thinks. Since the feelings are not in place, then there is no reason to find a double. Until once I went to the late home to help delay to get the file, just met a late home retired old man. The relationship between the old man and the late old man should be good. Time had passed. He looked at me and exclaimed, "This girl is very much like the child's mother." It seems that the parents' looks really influence the child's taste. The fog had lifted in half, and some ridiculous but sensible thought had occurred to me. What if Jiang Chengyu and I were doubles? Ian. Back to reality, I called out to the man in front of me. You hate the way she talks, don't you? Because her personality doesn't match your idea of the person. Every time you open your mouth, you have to come back to reality from your self-delusion. Delayed smile solidified, dangerous tone. Achucho, you are tired. Tired of what? I'm not tired. Was the original story tortured for so long? I put up with him, is to see him break defense this day. Delay. Auntie was beautiful when she was young, right? I narrowed my eyes and smiled brightly. Isn't she as beautiful as Jiang Chengyu? Rong Chucho. He suddenly lost control and tried to stop me. His anger and his horror at the revelation of his hidden feelings made me feel satiated. This tormented me countless days and nights of nightmare, and finally I will be personally disintegrated. Jiang Chengyu and a few similar places on my face just make you indulge in your own fantasy and can't get rid of it. I laughed out loud. Delay, you Oedipus, that is so sick. Did you hear me when I told you to shut up? He couldn't take it any longer and came at me, clutching my neck. Ahem. My throat filled with a pinprick-like itch and pain. The moonlight from the window sprinkled in, shine on his distorted look. Autumn, you should not know so much. You. My breathing became labored, and my lungs were starved of oxygen. You're right. Jiang Chengyu is such an idiot. If I treat her any better, she'll start to lose sight of herself. He tilted his head slightly and said softly, but you're different, Chuchio. You are so beautiful and intelligent. Although you don't look like that person as much as Jiang Chengyu, you are the one I like the most. It's just that you know so much. He sank down again, as if it were a pity. Kill. You can't escape. It's too late. My brain had signaled to me that it wasn't getting enough oxygen, and I struggled to fit in a sentence with no end in sight. Delay understood my meaning. It seems that you do not know. Jiang Chengyu fled, on the way to the police station. She hates you so much, she'll naturally come to the hospital. As for me, I haven't been home since Grandpa died, and I certainly haven't seen you tonight. Chichio, don't worry. When you die, I'll make your ashes into a bracelet and take it with me every day. We won't be separated. Crazy. My mind drifted away and I couldn't hear him clearly. Shit. Even if you change the plot, you still can't escape the B ending. Bang. After a loud bang, oxygen rushes back into my lungs, and I cough violently. My eyes refocused, and my cough subsided. How did you? Just got here. A slow-burning fist slams down on Delay, who has been out and about for years, in typical stripper fashion. I'm afraid. I struggled to speak for fear of being beaten to death by the Delay. Every word hurt like a knife cutting flesh. The burning had stopped, and he went to the side and turned on the night light beside the bed. I just got a good look at it. Very cruel, very violent. His brother was beating the crap out of him for the Delay. It was hard to stand up. Slow burn, you're a natural with a good hand. Delay sat down on the ground and sneered. Everything has been yours since you were a child. You don't like reading and you're addicted to games, so he tried his best to make me read and sent me abroad. I thought he had given up on you, so I worked hard to learn, to get ahead. The result. As a result, he said, let me grow up, a good assistant to my brother. He suddenly laughed like crazy, patted his chest and said, brother, I should have let that man fucking beat you to death. He was missing all those years ago. Did he do it? He looked at the slow burn with a calm face, as if not surprised. From childhood to adulthood, love is yours, property is yours, and now even my wife is your fucking property. I frowned. Watch your mouth. We haven't got our license yet. The law doesn't recognize it. Did you die? Smell speech, slow burn a stagnation. This just hang eyes to look at me, lift eyebrow to ask away. In the face of such nonsense, I don't bother. Just too much noise, the nurse to a trip, late burning opened the door, the figure just covered the ground Delay. I threw her a reassuring look, and she asked a few more questions before turning away. I found what you asked me to find. I found it in the old house of the late family. It was a picture in a pocket watch, a picture of a woman who bore a close resemblance to a Nari. Sui Tsz Ying, a local with a high school education, met my father at the age of 25. 2 years later, she became pregnant with delay. He looked at the picture and snorted. A stupid woman who loves scum. What makes you say that about her? He said, red-eyed at the delay and snarling like a trapped animal. I held the watch that had been given to me, and looked at it for a long time. He squatted down beside the delay. Still thinking of defending others? If you have any complaints, go to the police station and talk to them later. You can't catch me. I've got nothing. You mean that Chiang Sung you pushed to take the blame? Don't be silly. Do you really think she can get away with it? The man pulled out a cigarette, but before he could light it, he remembered it was a hospital and put it between his lips. She gave you up. Did you hear the sirens? He smiled. I've come to get you. After spending some time with the old lady, Kai Shuo returned to the place I had arranged for him. His whereabouts are easy to figure out, either in the company or in the internet cafe, the rest of the time no accident, all at home. There's so much going on these days that my dad is word sick and has ordered me not to go anywhere until I'm well. It had been a week before I saw the burn again. When did you remember? Or that internet cafe, I sat on the edge of slow burning while watching him play games and asked. After that, Tardy went to prison. The thing of late old man's son also is he lays hands on, late cauterized to discover he had remitted 2 million to the card of murderer. The start is a small county in a terminally ill farmers. There is not much life. They want to go out and leave some money for their families. The witness material evidence is complete, postpones the matter which hires the murderer to kill definitely. The delay and my dad had a good ending, and the PR blew the whistle on the delay and Anari. I am among them, is a poor helpless but rich family silly white sweet. The netizen speech is one-sided, gave me one after another big heartache such speech. Because I don't show off, few people know who I am. So I was in the overwhelming search, was put together a stupid beauty image. Do you remember the night of the delay? He stared at the screen for a long time before blurting out. Yes. He adjusted his glasses. I was going to go downstairs for a smoke the other day, but the guy he was looking for set me up. Isn't it dramatic to get hit in the head and wake up remembering it all? I looked at the funny lap of gores on his head and didn't say a word, knowing that I knew more than this drama. From the burning mouth, I know the story of their fathers. Is probably late burning mother and late father arranged marriage. Late burning mother's family is rich and powerful. Late father is a reverse plug door. He relied on his wife to make a fortune, step by step climbed the position later. The heart is also more unbalanced. With money and power, he began to re-examine his wife, feel that although now in power, but slow-burning mother witnessed his most embarrassed time. As a result, he began not to be satisfied with guarding this seems to be always one head higher than his original. That's when he met his delayed mother, Xu Ziying. Xu Ziying is good-looking, 0, a woman who refuses to be mediocre and always wants to make a difference. Late father looked at the light in her eyes, feel like see the past of their own. People like him are always trying to prove something by being somebody's savior. At this point, Kai Shuror just one of 5 kills, sarcastic words. So Xu Ziying very naturally into the late factory, became late father's secretary. 1 to 2 to go, for a long time love, and then back to God, has been unable to return to the head. I thought, secretary? Finally gave me a slow burning eyes, thought of it? Combined with the delay done, and then contact Jiang Chengyu and his relationship, I slightly stare big eyes. It seems I underestimated the extent of his distortion. Delay in extreme Oedipus circumstances into the role of his father, and exceptional to Jiang Chengyu the dilettantean turn, transferred into the president. So he married me, as promised, so that Inari could have an extramarital affair with him, to recreate the feelings between his parents at that time? I didn't understand, but I was shocked. Let's go. When the word of victory popped up on the screen, Kai stretched lazily. Wait a minute. The boy's voice said. I and slow burning at the same time look back, is the last time in the internet cafe watch slow burning play games junior high school students. He on our eyes, a face shy, you gave me the last problem, oh and I did it. Kai raised his eyebrows, took the title from his hand, looked down, and 3 minutes later, put it in his hand. He stood up and gave the boy his place. Good job. Go play. We still have half an hour left. If you're quick, you'll have enough time to play. When we walked out of the internet bar, the boy looked at her back and muttered, It's not my boyfriend or girlfriend. He took out his cigarette case, shook out half of it, and glanced at me as he was about to put it to his lips. Then, with a click, he put his cigarette back and took out a mint. As soon as I was startled, I heard him say, I had no place to go before, so I came here to the internet bar. That kid always likes to play games in the internet bar. He's a junior high school student, and he doesn't have much money in his pocket, so he asked me if he could play with him. I nodded. It wasn't the first time I had seen it. I'll give him a test when I have nothing to do, and when he does it, I'll give him a game. He pushed the sugar to his tongue and lifted the corner of his mouth. 1 come, 2 go, the boy is in his 3rd year. I was a bit surprised, feeling that he and I imagined the slow burn is not the same. Look at what? Nothing. It just doesn't feel like something you would do. As I said last time, I don't have any memories before. One I'm familiar with is the game, and the other. I kept on paying attention, trying to hear what he said next. It's you. My fingers clenched and I looked at him incredulously, as if something in my heart was about to rise from the earth. Rong Chicho, do you still remember the 3rd year, for you to stand up for the late burning? Wind over Linshao, I Zhongling looked at the man in front of. Blurred memory was wiped clear. This day, I finally remembered the youth, that wanton youth.